now 10 a.m. Good morning and welcome to the 2024 annual membership meeting of the Fairfield Glade Community Club. My name is Barbara Storer and I am the secretary for the Community Club Board of Directors. The 2024 annual membership meeting of the Fairfield Glade Community Club will come to order. This meeting is being streamed and recorded and will be posted on the Community Club website for member viewing. To honor America, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence to remember those serving in uniform. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This morning, in addition to myself, the following members of the Fairfield Glade Community Club Board of Directors are present. Ellen Anderson is the declarant representative. She is unable to attend. She lives in New York. Bruce Cox, Director at Large, is unable to attend in person. Ken Fleur, Director at Large, is unable to attend in person. Scott Hartema, Vice President, Bruce Horn, Treasurer, and Greg Jones, President. Bill Ward, our COO, General Manager, is also present. Bill, please introduce the members of the senior management team who are present.
Thank you, Barbara, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd like to take this opportunity, as Barbara said, to introduce our senior management team. If each of you would stand and remain standing until all have been introduced. Pat Davis, Executive Administrator. Bruce Evans, Director of Sewer Systems. Jeff Houston, Director of Golf. Sam McAdoo, Director of Community Maintenance. Candace Neely, Director of Human Resources. Mary Jo Page, Director of Marketing and Events. Kate Self, our Chief of Police. William Taylor, Director of Racket Sports. I would also like to announce that we have hired a new Chief Financial Officer. His name is Jason Lambert. He's coming to us from the Charleston area, but Jason actually grew up in Maryville and is excited to be returning to his Tennessee roots. And Jason will be starting, his first day will be October 14th. So we'll look forward to welcoming Jason to our Fairfield Glade community and our senior management team. I would also like to take this opportunity at this time to introduce Bobby Jones Lynx's new Food and Beverage Director, Linda James. Linda? Thank you all. I would now like to take this opportunity to, please, yes. I'd now like to take this opportunity to introduce Greg Jones, President of the Board of Directors, who will conduct the 2024 annual membership meeting. Greg?
Thank you, Bill. I'm going to try to stay on script today, and I usually don't do that, so I have to make sure that I get through the things that we need to do today, because there is a script that we have to do by our CNRs and bylaws, so I'm going to try to stay there. First of all, welcome to the annual meeting. We're glad you're here. Those that are watching at home, we're glad you're watching. So this is a pretty important meeting for us, so I'm very glad that everyone is participating. As required by Article 3, Section 3.02 of the Fairfield Glade Community Club bylaws, An annual meeting of the Fairfield Glade Community Club membership will be conducted on the third Friday of September of each year. The purpose of the annual membership meeting is to provide the membership with a report of the financial condition of the community club and announce the results of the election of directors. Consistent with the 2024 annual membership meeting, notice there are, whoops, no, I'm on script. There are no other matters for membership consideration on today's agenda. So, first of all, I would like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the 2023 annual meeting, membership meeting held on September 15th, 2023. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. The minutes of the September 15th, 2023 annual membership meeting are approved. I want to also, Colleen Mall, I think you're here, right? Where are you? Stand up. One of our commissioners here. We want to make sure that you get full notice that you're here, and we appreciate you being here. Okay. All right. The year in review. This is going to be a little different. As we have in the past, we basically reported on projects, and this year what we're going to try to do is tie a few things together, because what we did last year in 2023, 2024 was really a transition period where we're trying to get the board in different roles, we're trying to get the operations group in different roles, and what we're really trying to do is change the way that we're governing the operations and the board. So, with that in mind, I want to go through a couple things that we've done and also really kind of give you an idea where we're going. We've had a year of transition, and that started with leadership transition. Over the past year, there have been 2 interim general managers, 3 if you count me, when I sat in that desk for about a month. And now we've hired a full-time, hopefully long-term, general manager, COO, and that's Bill Ward, and who's just up here prior to me. We also lost our director of finance at the end of 2023, and we hired a new chief financial officer, and shortly after he came on board, he left for personal reasons. Our treasurer, working with the fractional chief financial officer, has filled the role for most of 2024. Recently, we hired Jason Lambert, who Bill did not announce, but that's someone who's coming on board in the next couple of weeks as our permanent CFO, and he's scheduled to be on site in the next couple of weeks, as I said. Our Director of Human Resources left in early August, and Candace Neely, who I think you introduced, is now the new Director of HR. And then we've had 3 hires along with our current senior management team that are found. These 3 hires, along with our current SMT team, are really the key positions that we're going to go forward with in terms of running the Fairfield Glade operations. So, as you can see, with 3 different people coming in on the senior management team, there's been a lot of change. And that's a good thing, because it allows us to start over in many ways, but also it fills some gaps, and we're still learning. So I want to keep that in mind as well. Over the past year, the board has been actively redefining its role to be less involved in the day-to-day operations and to focus more on the long-term strategic plan of where we're going as a community. So that's something we've been actively working on, and we're continuing to work on. And what that really means is it's going to require that we look at our governance processes, develop our governance models to reflect our respective roles. To build on the changes that we made in the board's role, we will be conducting a new orientation program. As far as I know, it's the first one that we've had over the next couple of weeks, where we're going to orient not only the new board, but the current board in terms of what the roles, responsibilities. We're going to actually take a tour of all the facilities and make sure that both the new board coming in and the old board really has a good idea of where we are on a lot of items that we really need to be thinking about. Also, our plan is that we're going to hold a planning, objective, priority setting session later on in the year before the 1st of January, so that we can actually take a look for the first time of where we're going as a board, communicate that to the community, and actually hold ourselves accountable for the things that we set for in terms of objectives and things that we're going to do for next year. Our strategic plan was presented on September 4th to the community. The plan is designed to grow, change, and evolve with time. Included in the process for developing the plan was membership participation in member surveys, focus groups, an analysis of emerging trends among similar communities, and an examination of our facility and amenity usage data, along with forecasting for future needs. While the writing of the plan took longer than we anticipated, we felt we needed the extra time to get a plan that reflects where we are and where we want to go as a community. The plan is currently posted on our member website, and we encourage members to read and make comments on the plan. After we review member comments and make the necessary changes, the board will approve the plan. After the plan is approved, the real work really begins, and that's the implementation of the plan. We will communicate to the membership on a structure we will use to implement the plan, and yes, there will be ample opportunity for all members and key stakeholders to be involved in the various roles going forward. Food and beverage. After a successful 2023, the Food and Beverage Department has not performed as planned against the 24 budget. Looking at the total scope of food and beverage that Bobby Jones Links provides, operating revenues still could cover overall operating expenses by year end of 2024, but fall short of the budgeted numbers. As we looked into the matter, we found one of the root causes of the underperformance year to date is an overly aggressive budget, especially on the revenue side. And to correct this going forward, what we're trying to do is we're going to be working with the Bobby Jones Links more directly, and we're going to have additional reviews both by the Financial Advisory Committee and the board in terms of looking at where they're going and how they're going to get there. So that'll be a big change for 2025. In addition to consulting on the food and beverage venue at Druid Hills, Bobby Jones Links has added new ideas to expand the offerings to better serve our members. And Bobby Jones Links has added menu items to our snack bars and have implemented new food events like fish fries and that type of thing, and are looking to other events that they could add, or they're still in the planning stage for 2024 and 2025. We encourage all of you to try our new snack bar menus and attend this and support the various events that are going to be announced in the future. The capital plan reserve study. The board has made available to the membership the 2023 reserve study. This is the first study of its kind ever completed by Fairfield Glade, and that's not a slow news item. It's really something we really needed to do. The results of the reserve study are now part of our budgeting and planning processes. So why is this important? By having the study, keeping it updated, and funding it on an annual basis, in the present and future boards will be better equipped to maintain our community assets in a good state of repair, implement the initiatives associated with the strategic plan, and ensure that our assets reach and even extend their useful life. The reserve study, like the strategic plan, is available on our website. The board has presented to the membership our 10-year capital plan in July. This is the first, as far as I know, documented long-term capital plan done by Fairfield Glade. This plan includes the funding for the reserve study and is tied to the strategic plan so that we will have a good roadmap for our future. We will continue the practice we started this year that when we are presented a capital authorization request, which we typically call a CAR, at our monthly board meetings to identify when a CAR is related to a capital plan or a reserve study item so that our members can easily track how we are performing against what our plan was. Druid Hills Complex. The Druid Hills Steering Committee accomplished much this year. Work has been completed on our improved practice range, opened the quarry, I keep getting those words confused, the quarry, our new entertainment putting course, and are close to completing the construction of our new performance center, known as the Garage. We encourage you to go over and check out these new facilities. Bring your putter and golf ball to give the quarry a try. You do not need to be a golfer to enjoy this fun amenity. Major activities in the next couple of months will be the completion of the existing clubhouse, or of the garage, I should say, planned for mid-November, starting the demolition of the existing clubhouse currently scheduled to begin by the end of 2024 or early 2025. And the current project schedule shows that the new clubhouse should be open somewhere in the mid-2026 area. Emergency Services Complex. The ESC Steering Committee includes people from the Fairfield Glade Board of members. It includes people from the Fairfield Glade Fire Department Board members, our fire chief, major capital project committee members, and representatives from the Cumberland County Emergency Services Department. This multifaceted committee meets regularly to determine the requirements for the ESC. In addition, the ESC committee is working jointly to provide the building design that will meet the current and future needs of our community and be functional for all those providing fire and emergency services. We will share the building design with the community once the architectural drawings are complete. Construction of is scheduled to begin in early to mid-2025. Robin Hood Park. Here's a quick review. The bocce ball courts are scheduled to be open sometime around mid-October. Common area property transfer. The amended and restated declaration of covenants and restrictions, what we could normally call the CNRs, were dated November 5th, 1997, stated that the common property are to be owned by the Fairfield Glade Community Club. The original common areas, for whatever reasons, were not transferred from Wyndham to the Fairfield Glade Community Club. We were informed by Wyndham in late 2023 that we will, in accordance with the CNRs, we will be receiving the deeds on those properties. We've received the first set of those properties in terms of deeds and are expecting the remaining deeds to be sent within probably the next 4 to 5 months. We have always been aware that this could happen at any time, and it's starting to happen now. And we have been maintaining those properties, so in terms of providing a consistent and exceptional member experience with unwavering commitment to our members. We continue to be impressed by and are grateful for the dedicated service of our hundreds plus fellow community members that serve as volunteers to participate in the board advisory committees. Your input and feedback are essential to a part of the board's decision-making process. A personal thank you to my fellow board members. Each of you vigorously advocates your point of view as we deliberate issues. But when it comes time for a vote or a decision, I'm very proud to say that we are able to reach consensus around what is the best interest of the community as a whole. It has been my honor and privilege to serve as the president of the board. I thank you for the opportunity. Finally, we want to thank each of you as members of the community club who we represent. You have been resilient, very supportive, and we appreciate the confidence and trust you have expressed in us. And I really want to say that we've gotten a lot more emails, we've gotten a lot more contact with members, and that's important. You need to make sure that we are aware of what you think. We may not always agree. I don't always agree. But the fact of the matter is what you tell us in terms of what you think and what you want is very, very important. And I will promise you that we don't just push that aside. We really look at everything that you say, and we really are very appreciative of the comments that you make. That is our 2024 year-end in review. It's my pleasure to introduce Bruce Horn, our Community Club Board Treasurer, to present the Treasurer's Report and the 2023 Audit Report. Bruce.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, neighbors, for coming out this morning and attending the annual meeting. You heard a lot of good stuff, and there's even more good stuff coming. I got to remember not to pick up that one. It's this one. Let's go through the audit report for 2023, and then I'll give you an update on what went on 2024. There we go. Okay. Once again, this year, Coulter and Justice has done our audit, and they have been with us now for, this is the third consecutive year for, with them to give us their audit. These are the things that they follow, give us statements according to GAAP, how they read this, the balance sheet, revenues and expenses, and fund balances, and cash flows, obviously. I wanted to share, this is the letter from the auditors. And I will tell you, by the way, everything that you see here is on the website under admin when you log in, and you can see everything that I'm giving you and all of the details that will go with the numbers that are going to be presented. But the important part here is what they do, what they found, and it's that last paragraph. And that's very important to us, to all of us. That's their opinion. The basis for their opinion, you can read all of this yourself, but it tells you that we go into a lot of detail with them on this. And they follow strict rules to give us their opinion on the basis of their opinion that we received. It's based on our responsibilities to give them clear information, accurate information, and make sure that anything that we find as doubtful as part of the board, that they're aware of. So that's what they're using for this opinion. One of the points that I want to make here, and Greg touched on it with our funding, we are obviously not a for-profit organization. We are a 501c4 nonprofit. And there are differences. All audits and all of our CFOs are qualified, and CPAs and qualified in their expertise to run our finances. Fund accounting is a little different. There are nuances, and I used this analogy yesterday at the FAC meeting because this is something near and dear to my knees today. All orthopedic surgeons are good, or they wouldn't be doing it, but there's specialties within that. So if you want a shoulder, you can go to any orthopedist and get that shoulder fixed. But if your knees are bad, you want somebody that specializes, just that little bit extra of focus on what it is going on with you. So in this case, this is kind of the same thing. We are a fund accounting-based organization, and as it says, it emphasizes accountability rather than profitability. Any of those funds, each one of those funds, like the sewer fund and capital and reserve and the POA operating funds, those are separate. And it's not one bundled general ledger. Each of those can have a separate general ledger. We follow distinct rules for where that money goes, where it comes from, how it's allocated out of those, and that's explained in our reports every single month. And it sometimes gets confusing when we talk about reserves. Which reserve? The capital reserve, the operating reserve, the reserve study. And it goes back to why this year was so important, this past year, is because we've done three things, as President Gregg pointed out. Reserve study, never done before. It's one of the basis of going forward in coupling with the strategic plan and the first ever 10-year capital plan, which, by the way, that number in that capital plan looks like a very large number. It is. But if you look, we looked over any 10-year period, it's the same amount of dollars with the exception of 1 year. So all of those 10 years that we have been spending money, it comes out to about the same. This is the first time we saw it with a plan in one place. That's one of the foundations moving forward with the strategic plan. So we've got three things going for us, and our accounting system helps us along with that to follow all of this. Just more explanation of why organizations like us rely on fund accounting. It's just a way to get a better handle on it. And one of the things that I learned from our interim Director of Finance, CFOs, and our interim and current General Manager, that within those kinds of accounting, club accounting has some idiosyncrasies as well. So we have expertise on board that take us for the next 50 years. Well, I won't be here, but that's okay. But then certainly for the next 10 years, we've got tools in place now to keep giving us more good news. And you'll see some of the numbers. We're in great shape, but we've got tools in place now to make sure that we continue that arc. Balance sheet comparison to 2022-23. Cash, a couple of million to the good. PP&E broke about even. That was investments. No debt, and member equity. And here's the important part. We talk about where a for-profit organization. well, we return money to shareholders, or your stock goes up. As of July 31st, we're worth $42 million. That's not a bad investment. That's each and every one of us partakes of that $42.4 million. We have a budget that runs about 24 million a year. You see that in gross numbers. We're growing. We're making more investment in ourselves, which means every piece of property that we own, you, me, all of us, is increasing. That's what we want to continue. And we do that by investing in our amenities and the things that we're doing, growing the community. Cash flow, pretty good. It's in the black. Again, purchases, we're online with our infrastructure. Debt service, we retired in 2022, 0. Here again, we're looking at a different fund. This is that whole fund accounting thing. That's how we are organized. That's in our CNRs. That's in our DNA, if you will. Cash, we spent some money to invest in the property and equipment, as you can see. So there was $1 million increase on that. No long-term debt. Member equity in the sewer side, not quite $2 million. Again, improving our position. Sewer service cash flow. You can see the numbers. Our capital income, because even though we have the service fees went out, we invested in all of those expansions. Bruce and his crew put in all new sewer systems, extended the system, and completed, I believe, the 10-year plan. Was that this year? But there's the 10-year plan of expanding that. We're moving along on that. Bought some equipment. We're extending these sewer systems. How do we control that? This is from the audit. Everything is segmented. There are individual responsibilities and individual controls within the department and overview. Two signatures required on some checks. Review of, as Greg pointed out, all of those capital authorization requests now come through, and they're scrutinized. They're presented. We know where they're coming from. We know where the money is going, and everybody is responsible along the way. And the FAC sees these, review. It's pretty impressive, the controls that we have in place. And of course, the auditors like it as well. I got ahead of myself. Segregation of duties. 2 signatures required on every check, over 100K. Background checks are completed for all signers. You better have a clean bill of health in your security side if you're going to work in this place. This isn't for amateurs, let's put it that way. And we must approve all investments. Good coverage all the way up and down the line. These are the capital expenditures 22-23. So these are some of the things that were accomplished then. You saw all of these in the monthly reports at the workshops and the board meetings. 24 highlights. This is the part that I get excited about now, because now we're current and moving forward. Again, the first reserve study. Everybody should be so proud of that this community accomplished that, because now everybody gets to see what we have going. And that thing is updated regularly, and we're all working from the same sheet of paper. Police department renovations, those are going on, and not all complete, as I understand it. St. George renovations, this capital plan and the upgrades at Druid Hills, huge step forward for all of us. And the bocce courts. This is the one that's a lot of fun. Here, look at the improvements on everything. This is where we are as of the end of July. We're funding everything. We're funding our reserves. We have cash. Our investments in ourselves are paying dividends already, because we have this capability to do this. We're not going backwards at all. There is no bad news here at all. Again, all of this is online, and when you have questions on it, send them to me. We'll get them answered for you. Again, we are financially strong and getting stronger, actually, because of the growth of this community and the investment of people coming in here. Our cash position is very good. I would have added a very. We're not aging this equipment here. That's with the help of the reserve study that helped identify that stuff. We're investing and replacing things and upgrading as needed, as necessary, before they go sour on us, and keeping ahead of the game. Again, our investment in ourselves is all positive. We have clean, strong internal controls. We've got Bill on board, the new general manager. We're forging ahead. And new CFO and director of finance will be here next month, so that when I get those tough questions, I can go, Jason, please help me here. Where's there it is. Oh. Some questions. The big number here, check the November 14th, put that on your calendars. That is going to be the 2025 budget presentation here. Be here on the 14th. That's where it'll be exciting, because you'll see what we're going to do for the next year, and you'll have all of that information. If you have questions, either of those email addresses will get to me, and if I don't have the answer, we'll get it to you, or we'll find somebody that can, I'll tell you that. That's all I have. Yes, Nico. It should be back over on that side. Ted Nico, huh? Why don't we just give him a mic?
Nico Sergio, community club member since April of 2005. On page 6 of the annual review, financial statements, it says a capital and amenity reserve fund. And the total fund balance on this statement says we have $53,616,624. So that amount doesn't correlate with what you put up there on the screen. So what happened to this $53 million?
I'm not sure where.
Page 6 of the financial audit.
Oh, you mean the one that's posted, or what?
This is an audit from, from our accountant. Not our accountant, your audit company. Who is it? It's not even on here. The 2023 audit that we paid for.
And which page? I mean, what's the
Page
title?
6. It's not on your
Oh,
presentation.
well, I don't have it in front of me, so go ahead and send me an email with it, and I'll get an answer for you. I can't make one up. Is it on POA and sewer?
If you add those two numbers.
Oh, it's at both of them?
53. So it's just the sum of those two numbers.
It's, oh, yeah. Thank you. The answer is add those two numbers together from, on this guy, 11 and 9. That's the 53. I believe that's what you're looking for. Yeah, plus the 42, I mean. That gives you your total.
That gives you equity. That's not what this report says. That says the fund balance on page 6.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, Nico, that this is the information that from the, that we got from the report. So if there's an addition or a connection between the two numbers, I'll have to get back to you. I don't know.
Okay.
I'll find out.
Yeah, because here it says it's a total fund balance. And a total fund balance is cash on hand. It's not equity.
Is how much? 53, right?
$53,616,624.
From which fund?
It's the contributed by developer, capital reserves, amenity reserves, operational funds, combined capital and amenity funds with operation funds, and wastewater system funds.
That's all of them, right?
That's what's on this chart, yes.
Yeah.
That's assets, not cash.
That's not, yeah. That's assets, not the cash, I believe. I believe.
Could you repeat that?
That should be the total of the assets, not the cash.
Well, that isn't what it says here. So you need to straighten out the title then, if that's what it is.
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
It says it's capital and amenity reserve fund. It's a fund. That is equity up there. What you're talking about is equity. This is talking about fund. That means we got cash somewhere.
Okay.
Or we got,
I'll have to look at it with you because it's not what I have from the report. So I'll take your word for it that you're reading it verbatim. I don't question that. I think it sounds like it's apples and oranges because we broke out these for each of the segments or each of the funds.
on page 19, we talked about improved grounds and common areas. And it says it has an estimated useful life in years of 0 to 15.
Okay.
The replacement value is $64,202,534. I want to know how much of that is for the replacement or upgrades of our 11 dams.
Good question. I don't know. I mean, we can go look at details of that in the reserve study. I mean, I can't give you an answer. I don't have that in front of me, Nico. I'm sorry.
There's nothing, I found nothing in the reserve study about our 11 dams, what it costs to maintain them or what it costs to replace them. And I think that's a huge expense.
If we have to replace them, it is, yeah. That's why we get them inspected regularly and insure them. So, yeah, that would be a big number. Don't know what it is right at this moment.
And will you get back to me with an answer?
Oh, I would love to.
Okay.
I'll get to them, yeah. I'll
right,
get you a
thank you.
number. It's a question I'd never crossed my mind, I guess. That's apocalyptic. There's going to be a lot more problem if we have to replace a dam than just money to
Ted
replace the
Landers.
dam.
Just a minor little thing. What is the amount that the manager can approve without going to board authorization? Is it like 15,000 or something?
Say it again, Ted.
Yeah, what is the amount that the manager
10?
is able to authorize without prior board approval?
10,000.
10,000. Recently, there was a pump that needed replaced down on Dartmoor, and it was like a
Hang on, I'm
20.
going to turn up my hearing aids, so if I get feedback here. Gotcha, okay.
Okay. Recently, there was a replacement of a pump for Dartmoor.
Yes.
Which is important because it's for our sprinkler systems for the lakes. I absolutely agree that, you know, they should have the authority to go ahead and replace things like that and get it done quickly because the downside is so great. I just think that it'd be nice if any amount that is greater than $10,000 is reported as being done as a project so we're aware of the money. I understand that it comes out of an upkeep and, you know, maintenance fund, but it'd be nice to know what it is if it's a large dollar amount. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
Patricia Chambers. Question about the funds. You've got a lot of money sitting in funds. Do we have that sitting in money market, or is it just sitting in a bank account accruing interest, or is there any stocks involved, any you know, those kind of funds, capital funds, money market, in the stock market?
The funds are spread across several banks, obviously to reduce any kind of, I won't say conflicts, but at least easier to track, obviously. And the investments are spread across a whole spectrum of investments. I don't know the percentage on each, but I believe we do. 96% of the investments are insured. That's the percentage that are insured of our investments.
So I'm assuming you're just saying FDIC, right? Insured.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Okay, we don't have any investments in any kind of stocks at all.
No.
Okay. Is that written anywhere that we can see what our investments are in?
We get a report every month at the board level.
At the board level. Every month we receive that report. Every month we receive that report, so it's available, yes.
And no investments can be made in any other things other than that without the approval of the treasurer or the president.
Right. There can't be a variation of that or a deviation from that without approval by the president and the treasurer. So we see that report, and then if there is any change or any deviation to that, we would have to approve it, and we haven't had to.
Okay, so you're not dealing with any kind of financial planner or something like BlackRock or anything like that?
No,
Okay, thank you.
no. Oh, there's a conference between the two, so. That's it. Thank you.
Just so everyone's aware, we are restricted by our covenants and restrictions about what we can invest in, and we're very careful about that. We're very conservative in our investments because we're not speculative in those investments, and we really make sure that they're going to be insured and they're going to be returns. Now, that doesn't give us the big jumps when the stock market happens and that kind of thing, but we don't want that. When we're investing your funds, our funds really, because the board members are also members, is that we are very conservative with those. So appreciate the questions, but we really don't speculate in any of our funds that we have. Okay. We want to acknowledge the 6 years of service for two of our board members, Ken Fleural and Bruce Cox. They're not here today. But in addition to being at-large board members, Ken has served 5 years as our board president, and Bruce has served 5 years as our treasurer. They have been dedicated and selfless in giving their time and talents to our community. And I'll tell you, if most of you have not served a term on the board, you don't really know what the time is in terms of that. And in Ken and Bruce's tenure, they really brought Fairfield Glade really to running as a business as opposed to a club. And with that, I mean, it takes a lot of time. It's been a pleasure working with both of them, and they have been great partners and advisors to all of us. We will miss their insightful comments and sound advice that help guide our decision-making. We also want to thank Peg Fleural for sharing Ken with us for the last 6 years. We're very aware of the time and commitment it takes to be a board member, and we want to acknowledge the impact and sacrifices made by the spouse and family of board members. Although Ken and Bruce cannot be here today, we want to acknowledge their service, and please thank them, along with me, for their service and their work as board members. Now, one of the big purposes that we have for the annual meeting, and we sometimes have them, this date we will have them, is the announcement of the election results. So I'm going to introduce Kathy Tipton, who's the chair for the 2024 election committee, to present the 2024 election results.
Good morning. I would like to introduce the other members of the 2024 election committee that are with us today. We have Pat Davis. If you would stand, Pat. She's also taking notes. We have with us Glenn Polson. We also have Joe Templin. And we have Phil Riley. We have Greg Jones, our liaison. You all know Greg. Not with us today is Adrian Salmon, Ken Fleerley, and Mike Sharrow, and we'd like to thank them for their service to the club. The Community Club Board of Directors consists of 5 property owner directors at large, 1 declarant director, and 1 interval owner director. Each director is responsible for representing the needs of the entire community. In 2024, 2 property owner director at large positions were open for election. At the end of the application period, which ended on Wednesday, June 5th, 7 candidates had applied for the 2 available positions, requiring that an election be held. Eventually, 1 candidate withdrew his name from consideration, and an election was conducted with 6 final candidates. I will now introduce Kenneth Chadwell to announce the election results. Ken?
Thank you. I'm simply reading from the certified election result report that I received last evening. I represent the board, but I do not tabulate these myself. I am reading the results as they've been certified to us. As soon as I'm finished with this, I'm going to hand this over to our board president, and that will promptly be made available so that everyone can see the data in here and the results and the breakdown of the numbers. There's always lots of questions about those things, and that will be made available shortly. These certified results account for 2,327 ballots, representing valid votes in the number of 8,944 votes from 8,324 eligible members. That gives us a participation rate, according to SBS, of 27.96%. 27.96%. Under Section 3.8, that does meet our quorum requirements. Now for the results. Congratulations to Mary K. Jacobson. Mary K. Jacobson with 2,901 votes, 32.4% of the vote. Congratulations to Monica Heisel. Monica Heisel with 2,802 votes, representing 31.3% of the vote. I'll now read the remaining candidates. Bill Booth, 1,171 votes, with 16.4% of the vote. Carrie Trees, 864 votes, 9.7% of the vote. Andrew Fine, 615 votes, representing 6.9% of the vote. Larry Tolbert, 291 votes, 3.3% of the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so everyone's aware, I want to make sure that everyone does understand. The board or no one in the community knows the vote totals until Kenneth announces them. So this is all news to us as well. So I want to congratulate both Monica and Mary Kay. We welcome you to the board of directors. We are looking forward to working with you. I would like to thank you, this year's election committee. People don't really understand how much work goes into that committee. And some of those people have been on there for what? Joe, how long have you been? Glenn, 3? 4?
3 and 3, so 6.
Okay, so 3 or 4 years, and it is, what's that?
Feels longer than that.
How long? 5? Well, we got to get rid of you. But the fact of the matter is that you don't understand how much work goes into this and how much these people really take on for the membership, all the questions, all the meetings that we have, and I've just been amazed. I got involved with it because the CNRs really call for the president to be the liaison for that board or for that committee, and Ken served with me, but you don't really can even appreciate the amount of work that these people do on the behalf of the membership to make sure the election is fair and it's done the way it should. So I really thank each one of them for all the efforts to ensure that we had a well-run and fair election process. The quality and the number of communications that they put out for this year's, again, was exceptional. And just thank you for a job well done. It's really been a pleasure to work with that group. So. All right, so now we get to the fun part. At this time, we will recognize community club members to share any comments. Please limit your comments to about 2 minutes, because if we're going to go more than that, we'll probably move it to a board meeting or a workshop. But please, anybody who wants to have a question answered or make a comment, come on up. And make sure you state your name and where you live so that we know you're a member, okay?
Patricia Chambers again, sorry. I would like to just say the election process on the email was awesome. It was a wonderful process. It was very easy, very quick, and thank you very much. That was a very good way to do this. But I'm equally as very disappointed in 27%. Something has to be done to increase that. That is ridiculous for a membership, and I understand y'all don't have any control over that, but somewhere along the line, somebody needs to step up and do something to increase the participation, because we're all involved and we need to all have our vote. So thank you again for your process.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think you've heard, if you've come to the board meetings, this is a theme that we've had. We need your participation as members, and we don't always get it, but we really, really want to encourage you more and more to get involved.
You know, there are people that pay their dues every month, correct? Mm-hmm. I'm one that gets it over with. Maybe sending out some kind of notice or something with their bill. It's coming up, something like that, to where you urge these people, okay, voting's coming up. Do you send out bills, I'm sorry, every month? Do you send out?
Not always. A lot of people are on auto pay, so those people that are on auto pay or come in and pay their dues for the whole year, we don't send bills out to.
Okay.
But I get your comment.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
we do anything that anybody in this room or watching streaming has ideas about how we can get more participation, we're more than welcome to hear them.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Silverthorne. I've lived here for about 2.5 years. I live off of Minetta up on the northwest side. Mm-hmm. I want to thank the board for doing what you all do in this highly paid position. Thanks again for doing that. I want to thank Bill Ward for coming to us this year. Okay, the only feedback I have to the board, and it looks like you all will look at this as you go forward, is your roles. All I say is let the operations people run the operation. I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
On the member website, under Robin Hood Park, there's a master plan at the top of that website. And that plan shows, and I guess the question I have is that master plan accurate? Because it shows, and I don't really care, I don't really play, but it shows 4 bocce ball courts and 2 shuffleboard courts. So that's one question. The second question I have is if you can give us a baseline timeline, possibly, when we'll be serving meals at the new restaurant in Druid. It could be something like second half of '26, just some idea of when that will occur.
Well, let's take your second question first. In my remarks, we're planning on that being open mid-2026, okay? The second thing is yeah, we need to take a look at that master plan tab, because obviously we only have 2 bocce ball courts that are being constructed, okay? We are redesigning the whole website that should come in about the first quarter of 2025. So it's easier for people to find things and to actually respond to things. But right now, the bocces are going to be two courts, and the mid 2026 is when we're planning on Druid Hills. Now, we'll try to do a better job of updating that. We haven't done a really good job, I get that, and we really need to make sure that members can go on the website and find things easily, and that's going to be a part of 2025's rollout. Bill and his group are working very closely, or very actively, I should say, about how to do that. We also added a new position this year, a communications person who's trying to get all the communications for the community out. That's not a slow news item. It's not a small item to really work on. So we can get better, and we acknowledge that, and we will get better.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Patricia Parkinson. I currently own 2 homes, so I could pick either address, I guess. Anyway, I've been here 15 years. So my main question to you is regarding member equity, and it touches on something you reported to us earlier. You made reference to the transfer of deeds coming in from Wyndham. I'm aware of that, being here 15 years, the talk. But I wonder how that's going to affect the member equity in terms of value of that land. If there's a broad map maybe that depicts the property that's coming in, the mass, I mean, it could be 10 deeds that's less than a quarter acre, or it could be 10 deeds that's 20 acres. Do we have a handle on that? The value it's going to bring to our books, and the tax implications on that property, the costs of now, paying the taxes. I know we knew it was coming our way, but is there something that we could look at as an overall plan for that?
Well, if you look at the common property that we're talking about, it comes in 3 flavors.
Yeah.
There's regular common property, there's limited common property, there's restricted common property. And those 3 flavors are very different, and I won't go into all that right now. We estimate that the tax implication will be about $31,000 for all the properties that we're getting. I haven't seen all the properties, okay? So I can't tell you today exactly what all that would be. We do have some maps. I know Sam has one in his office that shows all the properties. But we'll get that out to the community when we get all the properties transferred, okay? Because some things, like for instance, the restricted property, common property, is basically where a lot of our condominiums sit. So you're not going to do anything with that.
Right.
But the reason why it was labeled that way is so that for the maintenance of that property and that type of thing is restricted for the home or the condominium owners to pay for that. Okay?
Correct, yes.
So what we really are most interested in is what we call the common and limited common properties. And we'll get that back to you when we get all the deeds and all that sorted out. We're not there yet. It probably will be sometime in 2025 when we get there. Okay?
I understand. If we could maybe keep a database of the property ID. I'm a member, so restricted, common, whatever.
Yeah.
It's my part too, so I'd like to see what we as
we
member-
do,
Okay.
and we will.
Okay,
But-
and if it's pending, if you could cross-hatch it or something and
I'm
show
sorry?
us? Maybe if it's still a pending deed transfer, but it's going to happen,
Well,
maybe we can show something like that.
This is
what the
probably
future
going to
would be.
happen sooner rather than later.
Good.
So I think what we'd like to do is show it all, okay?
Great.
And so
Yeah.
you have an idea. But in terms of equity to the membership, it's going to increase it.
Sure.
We're getting land.
But we need to see why it increased next year, and
Yeah.
if that's a part of it, we need to understand that. Okay, that's what I'm
Absolutely.
driving at. The other thing is the amenity fee purchase increase. I'm sure that's been a popular topic with everybody. I bought a couple properties this year and had the pleasure. How is that going to be reported next year's meeting, showing us how that increase has been accounted for and improved things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And let me give you some information on that, because I actually got a report on that yesterday. This is something the board's going to look at going forward, because what we really want to understand is, because we increased the amenity reserve fee, what the impact of that is on sales of homes, sales of properties, and that kind of thing. And let me dig a little bit. I've got that report here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Now, remember, we put this in force the first part of July, okay? So I don't put a whole lot of stock in what happened in July, because we had a number of people that tried to get all their stuff in June so that they wouldn't have the increased amenity fee in July. But if you take a look at, and I'm not going to break it down, but we have it broken down. And like I said, the board is going to look at this every month, and we will report on it at the board meetings every quarter, because it's hard to get a trend on just 1 month's experience, okay? Sure. But if you take a look at the month of August of 23 and August of 24, actually, and this is what we hoped would happen, we actually had an increase of 8 properties that were transferred in August of 24 from August of 23. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but the big thing is that we didn't see a decrease. And if you look at July, the numbers are skewed because of the number of people that tried to put in June to get the lower amenity fee. There was a large increase. That increase for July over July was almost 11 properties.
Okay, that's not where I was going with this.
Okay.
As a member, I just would like to see where that additional money is going to go next year. Okay?
Where it's going to go.
I know the trends and the complaints and all that. I want to, okay, we're paying it, we're collecting it. Let's show that next year how good it did for us and where did it go.
You'll see it in our financial reports.
Okay, good.
About the amenity reserve fee coming in.
Separate.
And where it's going to go is, if you take a look at our July 25th presentation that we did on the 10-year capital plan, you'll see that it's part of that whole process.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Very quickly.
Yeah.
Nostalgia. When you go and demolish that building out there at Druid, and I haven't been in touch with all of the plans, but is there some little cornerstone or piece of that old building that's going to be in the new building for those of us who remember, just as part of our growth or future and past? Any thought to that?
We haven't thought about that, but that's a good question. We'll take it up.
There's a lot of memories and history in that building, and it would be nice if we had just a little piece of it that came into the new one. It may be just me, but, and thirdly, Mr. Ward, the grounds crew, the guys that go around on our streets and clean our common areas, the medians, the sides of the roads, the litter, I applaud them, and I hope everybody else does, because I don't know of any community that you can drive around and look at the sides of our roads and medians, and those guys out there smiling, bring them a popsicle, okay? Thank you very much, thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing that with all of our people that work for the community club, they really are dedicated individuals. They do the best job that they can to make sure that everything looks nice and presentable to not only to the community members, but to visitors. And that's a very important part. And it's good that we acknowledge those people. Okay? Over here.
You're talking to me? Okay. Hi, my name is Brenda Nolan. I live on Kingsborough Lane off of Kingsborough Drive. And we picked this wonderful community because I can get out and walk. I can go to the little mall. I can come down here myself when it's not too hot or cold. And it's great. And I thank Sam McAdoo and Bill Heidel for putting in those little tactile sidewalk things when you're going down and you don't want to, like where the different timeshares are. For a while, there was nothing there. So as I was walking, I couldn't find where the road began and the sidewalk ended. And other sighted people have complimented, told me that was great. I learned about Fairfield on the internet, unfortunately not from Fairfield Glade's website. And I would encourage you, when you make the new website, please, please, make it accessible to people who use screen readers. I know there's one or two other blind people here. There's been one before that used to have a guide dog, and we're a small minority, but you've got visitors, people that are Wyndham guests that might benefit from it as well. So I would encourage you, and Bill Booth, when I was talking to him when he was a candidate, he has knowledge about this kind of thing. He might be a good reference point because he can explain it better than I. So I would just encourage you, even though we're a small number, it still would be nice to be in the 21st century and have your website be accessible to us, because I could barely read the candidates' stuff when I tried to read it this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dwayne Wages, I've been here 17 years. I live on Rotherham Drive. Quick follow-up about the transfer of the common property. If I go over to Sam's place over there and start looking at the wall, I should be able to see what all the common property, you may not be into 3 categories perhaps, but I can see where they are, correct?
Yes.
So is the expectation, once this is transferred, how soon are you going to be starting to develop homes onto those properties?
Well, by the CNRs, we're restricted what we can do with common property, okay? And that was by the founders, and they were probably more right than wrong on that. The more you spend time in the CNRs, the more you appreciate the thought that went into actually writing those. You know, Kenneth, your former partner was a big part of that. Development on the common property is something that we haven't taken up as a board, and I don't know that we're going to do a whole lot of it, because we have to take a look at what that common property is and how it's restricted or put in terms of what we can do with it.
That's fine.
Okay.
You don't need to talk anymore about that. Just another quick question. Recently, in the paper it reports and it says the policy, and we're referring to the cart pass on the golf course.
Okay.
If that's a policy, our normal procedure would be we would get a chance to input to that policy.
Yep.
Yet this appears to be a case where we had no input to it, even though there were some fixes and restrictions because the general manager perhaps didn't understand about the lease law. But why didn't this policy, quote, get a review by us?
It should have been, and that's why we retracted the policy, okay? Board policies, and you can go on our website and see all of them. They're under the ACC, they're under property owners, and you can see all of those. Those, because there are board policies, have a 30-day comment period by the membership, okay?
Right.
That's why we restricted. We actually looked at this pet policy, I want to say about probably last fall, something like that, and we chose to keep it pretty much as is. And the reason why we did is that we really want the liability of what happens with dogs to rest with the owner of the dog, not the community, okay? And that's why we kept it the same. But we have a new general manager. He didn't do anything wrong. He was doing what he thought he was right. But we're all new and we're transitioning, and the fact of the matter is that that policy could not be changed without board approval and a 30-day comment period for members.
Okay, really, just my question is, I hope that's not the precedent that we have for any other changes we have. It should go to us to review.
Absolutely.
That's my point.
I think we learned our lesson.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
I just want to clarify that the term, the rules and policy
Yeah.
get intertwined here a lot. And that's, and, you know, the leash law, pet nuisance policy is a board policy. And the addition of leash on golf course cart pass was at odds, and that should have had proper board review and member comment. But the rest of that is golf course rules, which are operational. Much of that is just being shared as a reminder. That has existed. So that's why when we said highlight the area that was being addressed, or had been addressed in error, so that it was clear. But the golf course rules and golf operations of the golf course and what can and can't happen on the golf course is part of the rules and part of the operation. So just want to clarify.
Yeah, that's an important clarification because there are policies and there are rules, and operations through the general manager and the SMTs really control the rules. The board and the membership controls the policy. So that's a big distinction that we're going to make sure that we follow. Okay? Go on ahead.
Morning. Thanks for everything that you do.
Talk in because I can't hear you.
Is it on? Yeah, okay.
That's better.
Yeah. Thanks for everything you do for the Glade, by the way. I would suggest to you that we have adequate golf amenities to last for the foreseeable future. Per the strategic plan, the baby boomer generation will be replaced by the baby bust generation in 2030. That's only 5 years from now. I read in a golf magazine not long ago that the Gen Z and millennial generations are not the golfers that we are. And that's because of the cost, their available free time, and their interest level. As a result, the total number of golfers has dropped by tens of thousands every year for the last number of years. And unless we have another Tiger Woods to fuel another golf craze, the number of total rounds of golf will likely decrease. Golf revenue here now is positive, and it pays its own way, as I understand. But 5 years from now, 2030, will a depleted supply of golfers still be the case of a positive cash flow? Why would we risk a $15 to $20 million investment in the new Druid project in this kind of an environment? Instead of the present Druid design, Jerry Miller has proposed a facility similar to the Dorchester Clubhouse, which could be done for a fraction of the cost of the Druid project and give us the gathering place and banquet facility that the membership has been asking for. And
Okay, so let me address,
one last comment. Stonehenge is the Glade's flagship golf course, and golf monies should be used there first and if when needed, in my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me address some of that, okay? And I won't have a complete answer for you. First of all, I'm going to agree with what you said at the start. One of the things that our strategic plan is going to address is what what Fairfield Glade should look like 10, 15 years from now. We know, well, I'll give you a perfect example, pickleball. Pickleball, when it was brought up in 2016, the community was against it. Said it never would be any good. It's an investment we shouldn't make. And if you go over there today, it's grown quite a bit, a lot. Actually surpasses where tennis is. It's more on a curve like this than a curve like this. So we get the fact that what you're talking about in terms of we have to look at all of our amenities and what's the next great amenity that's going to come in, because it's going to be different than what it is today. And you're absolutely right. I talk to my son all the time, and he's a Generation Xer, and basically he doesn't play golf because he doesn't have the time for it with his family. And so we have to look at that. Now, having said that, what Druid Hills, the complex that's in there, let's be honest, okay? Because there's a lot of misinformation coming out about this. The total cost of the clubhouse, let's just talk about that, is not 16 or 17.2 million as what we told the community in July what it would be. It's actually 10.1. There's a lot of other things that we're doing over at Druid that need to be done for safety. We got trucks coming in, and we got cars going out, and we got people walking in places where they shouldn't be walking. So for a lot of safety reasons, we're cleaning all that stuff up. But your point is well taken from the standpoint of, if you take a look at Druid, what we're trying to do over there, and I don't know if any of you have come, how many of you have been over to the quarry?
It's awesome.
It is. And I was over there last Sunday, and there must have been 30 people out there, most of which, I went over and talked to a number of them, most of which used to golf but don't golf anymore, but they can go out there and putt and have a good time. And you know what? It's free. And
Keep it that way.
what's that?
Keep it that way.
Is that a demand or a question? Fair. But the fact of the matter is those are the kinds of things that we need to be looking at more for the community, because I hate to admit this, but I'm aging just as well as some of the others. And there's going to come a point where I'm not going to be able to go out and play golf every day. I don't do that now, but I wish I could. But the fact of the matter is that with Druid, it's more than just the clubhouse. We're really not doing anything on the courses, okay? The only two things, or the only three things that we've done in terms of golf over there is put in the Performance Center, which is a revenue generator for us. And those of you that were at the meetings that we've had, the town halls, you would have seen the business case for that, and it actually generates revenue for us. It's not a break even, it's a revenue generator. Second of all, we want to make that a gathering place. You know, one of the things that we found out in the reserve study, and this is important for the membership to understand, is one of the things we found out in the reserve study is Druid is a good example of it. That's a 50-year-old building. It actually is about 4, some would say 5 buildings, because it's been added to as opposed to just a building. We didn't keep those up. And as a result of that, that 50-year-old building, and there's many 50-year-old buildings that are around in the United States, let's keep it there, that are still very useful. That building is not. We had an assessment done of that building. We had engineers come in, independent, no board member or no one from operations was a part of that assessment. We had them come in and take a look at it. That building cannot be renovated, period. Now, that takes you to the fact that, you know, now these things are into our reserve study, and we're starting to take a hard look at our assets, our physical assets, and actually building the repair and maintenance in those so that we can extend the useful life of those well beyond where they are. But we have other plans that we need to be looking at. You know, again, when most of the facilities you take a look at here were built, they were built in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and we've grown a lot as a population from then. And as a result of that, we have things like gathering spaces that we would like to have that we don't have. We have areas where, you know, people want to play cards and they want to play games, they want to do those kinds of things, and we don't have those places right now. So we're looking at as a part of that 10-year capital plan of making those facilities available to the community, because we need to. We were about 4,500, 5,000 people then. Now we're about 9,500. That's a big jump. And if you have the facilities that you had for 4,500 or 5,000, and you're now trying to squeeze 9,500 into it, that's not a good thing necessarily. So I get what you're saying, and that's a part of our plan going forward, and you're going to be seeing more of that over the next year or two of exactly how we're going to be building that plan up and making things more available to our membership. Okay?
Yes. My name's Tom Regal. I've been a member here for 41 years, owning several different properties. I have a differing opinion about the Druid facility than it appears the board has. This is my 5th attempt to get the board to consider refurbishing and rebuilding Druid Hills as opposed to the new program. The board has repeatedly stayed with their initial decision to tear down the Druid Clubhouse in spite of the following. Initially, we were told that the new Druid building was going to be $4 to $6 million, and it would be well over $3 million to refurbish the Druid facility. Then they told us it was going to be $6 to $8 million, and we're still going to stay with a new building, and they would not consider refurbishing the building. That started to raise some doubts in my mind. Then out of the blue, in the last presentation, we were shown concept drawings and were told at the end of that discussion, the new cost would be $16 to $17 million for the new building. Several of us were shocked with the numbers and saw we were getting far less in terms of the new building than we had with the old building. The board once again refused my request to reconsider refurbishment and allow us to save somewhere between $8 and $10 million should the refurbishment cost approach $8 million, and I doubt it would. They plan on spending $2.5 million in site prep in order to store golf carts under the building when we still have a sound cart barn capable of handling the near future and into the future. A request that I made to revisit the building and to establish a more detailed condition report and cost estimate was rejected. A request I made for the names of those who inspected it and who made the original assessment to close the building, to destroy the building, has not been received from the board. Refurbishment is not the same as new construction. Expertise in refurbishing is very different than new construction. And experienced rehab contractors should be the source of remediation costs. You can remediate even black mold, contrary to what some people will tell you. And all the other stated issues can be addressed for far less than $16 million. The scariest part of all of this, as you heard today, is they are preparing to demolish the current building and will do it before we have documents and designs that we can put out for bid. What is the rush, and what will happen if eventually that bid comes in at 20 million or more? You can pick a number. What do? We just say, no problem, we can afford it, and we're operating just like Washington, D.C. I do not understand the pressure, the politics, or the egos behind so strongly refusing to consider saving the beautiful historic Druid Legend building and Fireside Grill. I belong to a club up in Minnesota where the building was 75 years old, well maintained, and was totally operational. I'll close by again asking the board to stop until the building can be reassessed and actually get bids to remediate, repair, replace the things that need to be done. And the sunk cost that we have so far in the activity that's going on is kind of small compared with what the potential savings would be. Ladies and gentlemen, we are potentially looking at wasting $8 to $10 million or more, and that's million with an M. I thank you.
Tom, stay there. Stay there. I want to address this issue because I think it's important.
You're too far from the mic. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I want to address this issue. Number one, in the emails that I sent back to you, did you go back and look at the assessment that was done in terms of the presentation that was done at a town hall in January 2022?
I most certainly did. And I saw it after you had the initial presentation.
Okay. Did you take a look at the July 25th presentation that was done?
Yes, I did.
And what was the cost of the clubhouse at that time in July 2021?
Well, you got a problem. You got a problem when you gave the number that you just gave. There's over 14 million that is directly related to the clubhouse. In the presentation you made, you said 9 million for the courthouse.
No, I didn't say that. I said 10.1.
You did. In the presentation, you said 9. And then you had 2.5 million for site prep in order to put the building in. That's a part of the building cost, sir.
Hold on. Let's be clear. I would refer everyone in the room to take a look at the presentation that was done July 25th, 2024, which shows the breakdown of all the costs over at Druid.
I happen to have it right
And if
here.
you look at that, what you will find is the demo of the clubhouse is $250,000. The clubhouse construction is 9.9. That's roughly about 10.1, $10.2 million. All the other things that are in there are things like the design, the modular building that we have to have for the club, for the pros to use while we're building the clubhouse, a food truck that we're going to have to provide food and beverage while we're tearing down the clubhouse, insurance and permit fees, the clubhouse furniture, fixtures and equipment, site work, which is the grading of the parking lots and the utilities, testing services, which we just completed, and we got good news on that, which we'll announce at the board meeting next week. There's a lot more than what's in there than what just the clubhouse is. And Tom, I'm sorry, but you're not giving factual things. The other thing, the other part, you had your chance, so I'm going to take mine. The other part of that is the numbers he is talking about are 2021 numbers. Those numbers, and you've all experienced a little thing we call inflation. When we did that assessment, the word we got from the architects and the engineers that were working on that the replacement value of the clubhouse or the build of the clubhouse would be about $250 per square foot. That has gone up considerably since then. As a matter of fact, it's almost doubled. And when we've gone out and gotten estimates of that, we are now finding that those numbers are very, very different. So what he's quoting in terms of the amount of cost to renovate Druid is very, very low. You can't do it for that. The other thing is that in the assessment, we didn't put these numbers into the town hall, but one of the big numbers is that we now understand that we could not get a pass, if you will, on the trusses. And when you talk about doing the trusses in a building, you're talking about a total rebuild of the building. We would not get an okay from the powers that be to get a pass on just keeping those trusses there. The second thing is that when we take a look at that building, there's other things that are in the presentation that were given to the town hall, not the least of which is ADA compliance, which is a big issue. And that would require a whole redo of the restrooms and that type of thing, which would mean that we would have to move load-bearing walls, which again would get you back to the trusses that say you can't do that. You're going to have to rebuild all of that.
All of that was in our $8 million estimate.
So the numbers that we were talking about in 2022, January of 2022, are far and away lower. The other thing that most people don't realize, and I know that Jeff, you're still here, aren't you? And Raj, I know they realize, is if you take a look at that building, we had to close down part of that building for two things. Number one, we had a sewer pipe collapse. That was not even known in January of 2022. So we would have to replace all of that. And also, we got to the point, and some of you probably do remember, we used to allow the use of games and cards and that kind of thing in the old Legends area. That had to be stopped because we got mold in there. These are not slow news items. So the numbers, Tom, that you're quoting in terms of what you think you can save and what you can do are vastly overstated. And
amazing.
The board has presented this for 3 years almost to the community. Matter of fact, the first presentation that was made was at the 2021 annual meeting. So
this was
you
not
can
2021.
continue to give your false information, but the fact of the matter is that there's nowhere close to what you're quoting in terms of fixing that building.
What
that can be done.
source do you have for that position?
Well, I've got a lot of got a lot of information. We've gone out and gotten quotes of what it's going to take to renovate or build. I talked to a gentleman. I talked to a gentleman just 2 days ago who's working on that whole plan, and he said you'd be a fool to try to renovate that. It's going to cost you more than a new building. So you can continue to write your letters, you can continue to make your statements, but I want people to understand they're just not true.
You need to stop and think about what you said. Yep. You can say the things you said, Greg, but remediation of that building, the building itself is solid. Do you dispute that?
No, it's not.
The outside.
No, it's not. That's a false statement, too. You can continue to spout what you want to do, but I would not appreciate you taking up everyone's time and giving false information.
Hi, Jeff again. I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
It has to do with the emergency services building.
Yeah.
And in the last few months, as I've been going to these meetings, I hear the folks talking about on-site EMT. And as you think about this building, I don't know if you've thought about the expansion of that sometime down the road having to happen. Because again, I've heard about projections of growth in this place. So now like 9,500, 2035 at 14,000, I've seen those numbers. So just wondering if you're thinking about future expansion of that particular facility to have on-site EMT.
Not only are we thinking about it, I think we're going to take action on it fairly soon. Because one of the things that we've learned from the strategic planning survey and the other surveys is the number one goal, or the number one objective here, is really around health and safety. And we're really trying to take some action in the near future. You've seen some of it. We got now a heart group that's coming into Fairfield Glade on a weekly basis that are available to our membership and that type of thing. So we're working with Covenant, but we're also going to try to address how we get quicker service to people in terms of their health needs, like a heart attack or something like that. And we get that, and, pardon me? Yeah, and we're working with the fire department and others to figure out the best way to do that. So we get that, and believe me, it's high on our list. It's our number one priority, okay? And I think you're going to see some action taken sooner rather than later, okay? Anything else? Oh.
Good afternoon, Mark and Kathy Ty, 15 Pomeroy Court.
Yeah, we can't hear you. I can't hear you, so I can't answer your question.
It's on, okay, it's just low. Mark and Kathy Ty at 15 Pomeroy Court. We've been here for just under 3 years and very encouraged in the past number of years, 2 years, to see a strategic plan, to see all of these things happening, that this place, Fairfield Glade, needs to move forward. Right now, 9,500 residents. In 10 years, it's going to be 15,000 residents. Let's take the Druid Hills experience. We've never been there. It was before our time, but the condition, obviously, that facility decayed into is what's causing this expense to replace it. Let's take this as a lesson right now to keep what we have. And with the plan, the strategic plan, the financial plan, let's reinvest in our infrastructure here so we don't have this issue again. The other thing that I think may be missing from the strategic plan, that cities of this size, and we're almost a city, is a Department of Public Safety. We have a police department, we have a volunteer fire department, and I can see the benefit of a Department of Public Safety that would roll those two organizations with parity, because it's important to the health, safety, and welfare of our current and future residents. So think those 3 or 4 words: the Department of Public Safety.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, and I'm just giving you the good, the bad, the ugly with it, okay? The fire department is a separate organization from the community club. We have no influence over what they do or how they do it, okay? That was a decision that was made in around 2015, 2016 timeframe. So we look at public safety from what we have control over. Kate, you're still here, right? As our police department. And that's all we have control over, okay? The fire department is a separate entity. They do their own thing. We fund it. We give them basically their operational budget as a contribution from the community, but that's as far as it goes. So we do have one board member that sits on their board, but we only have one vote out of whatever they decide to do. And that's not to say that we're at odds with one another. We try to work with one another for the public safety for all of Fairfield Glade, but we do not have influence or direct control over what the fire department does, okay? The second thing about that is in terms of public safety, as Scott would tell you from the Strategic Planning Committee, that was probably it was the clear winner of all the priorities that this community had. So we take that very seriously when we hear it. And we're going to try to work with the fire department and the county to try to improve those things. That's why I said what I said about the EMC, emergency services piece. We need to do more in that area, and we're going to do it. Now, we have to work through the logistics of how that's going to work, but my promise to you is that this board will attack those things and we will do better on that, okay? But in terms of combining all of that, we work together, but it's not all under one governance body, okay? So people can do what they want to do. And that was a decision that was made by the community long before I got here, okay? Go on ahead.
Yes, certainly your point about the growth of pickleball is valid. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's hard to book a court. So my question is, who makes the decision what time they actually close the pickleball courts there? Because they close at 3 o'clock on Sunday in the summer, and they close, I think, at 6 or 7 o'clock, even though in the summer it's daylight till 9, and you don't even need lights for that point. Who makes that decision, and why do they make that decision to close so early, particularly in the summer?
Okay, a couple things on that. If you take a look at our 10-year plan, you'll see the expanding of pickleball courts in that plan, okay? Yeah. But second of all is I think you've hit on a key point. I think that's one of the things we need to work with operations on is what are really the hours that those facilities ought to be open. We're also working on with the operations in terms of what should be the look, if you will, of availability of pickleball courts during the winter inside. Mm-hmm. So a lot of that's in discussion.
Okay.
But I get your point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You bet.
Hi, Ken Snyder. I've been here a resident 7 years. I want to thank you and the board for all the time and effort it does take to do a difficult job, so thank you for that. A couple of questions. So just point of clarification. So for the Druid building then, what I understood you to say is because there hasn't been reserve studies done prior to this and no specific budgeting for ongoing maintenance, that building fell into disrepair and needs to be demolished. So I ask you, so could we consider that mismanagement? Did that say mismanagement for all that time?
Well, you can label it as such. It certainly wasn't forward thinking. Let's put it that way, okay? And one of the things this board did over the last year, or actually a year and a half, we did get a reserve study done. That's the first time this community has ever had one. And it really pointed out, as you see the pictures, and it's on the website, so you can go take a look at all that. If you take a look at that, you'll find that our buildings, even though they are not that old, have not been repaired. The former philosophy was run them till they can't run anymore and then build new. And that's not a good policy, okay?
And
So we're now making the investments in the reserve study. We're making the investments in over the 10-year plan, and we've been very clear with operations, mainly Bill and a lot of Sam because he's the maintenance guy, is you got to take a look every year and make sure that those items are taken care of. Because what was happening in the past is they would kick them down the road, say, well, we don't need to do that this year. We'll just wait another year or two to do that. Now what the attitude of the board is, you better take a look at it, and if you're going to pull it out of that year's maintenance piece for the reserve study, you better give us a good reason why.
Yeah, no, I absolutely support and applaud all that. Thank you very much for doing that. It's just surprised that it hadn't been the case before. Man, as a young man, I was on a condo association, and that was like, you know, the first thing we did, you know,
Yeah.
So it seemed like malpractice to me. So anyway, I'm hoping that was maybe, or I guess that's one of the reasons we saw some of the departures that we did because of things like that.
Won't go there, but I will say that I'm really pleased with my interaction and the board's interaction with Bill and his staff of the SMTs is that they're willing to step up to that.
Yeah. No,
And that's a big change from where we were a year or two ago. And it's a very important change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people don't realize this. Matter of fact, Phil Smith, you still here? Yeah, okay. Phil told me this, so I'm going to quote him, is I didn't realize this. As a matter of fact, I was talking to the Chamber of Commerce person, and I didn't realize this. We're the second largest, if we were a city, we're the second largest population group in the county. I didn't realize that. And the second thing was, I think this did one come from you, Phil, is that we'd be the 72nd or 73rd largest city, if we were a city, in the state of Tennessee. We're not small. And yet we've been running Fairfield Glade as if it were small. And we've got to get to the point where we understand as our population grows, we need to have other amenities, gathering spaces, things like that, that we haven't had in the past because we've been thinking small as opposed to really where we are. So I think, the strategic plan has done a good job of pointing a lot of that out, and I think you're going to see the board continuing to take action on those things to make those things happen. Because that's how we grow.
Yeah, very happy to hear that. Two more questions. One, on the $5,000 assessment on the sale of the homes. Would you share the thinking behind that? I mean, was there a problem to be solved? Was that in lieu of a special assessment?
I'll tell you what it was. And we've heard this feedback since I've been on the board, so I'll go back 4 years. We used to hear a lot of feedback, some of the people in this room used to give it, is, gee, why are we having to pay? Because this is the way it was before. The current residents paid for all capital improvements to amenities, except for we were collecting $1,200 for what we call tier A lots, which are basically buildable lots and where homes already are. So I'll keep it to that. I'm not going to get into minutia here. But the fact of the matter is that that's not a way you can grow. If you take a look at other communities, you'll see, I think the lowest one that I saw in terms of the state of Tennessee was about $250 per month in assessments. We're way below that, and we're not trying to get to $250. But what that does is that allows you a lot of capital infusion, if you will, to be able to do things like Druid and do things like pickleball courts and do things like that. And what we really need to do is get the people that are coming in that are going to enjoy those amenities to help pay for those, as opposed to the people sitting in this room or the current membership having to pay for those. And that was the purpose of the amenity reserve fee. And I want to be clear about that. People talk about it as being $5,000. It's $3,800. We had $1,200 in the amenity reserve fee since I think it was like 2016, 2017, something like that. We just chose to raise that to 5,000 to indicate that we want people that are coming in to pay for that. Most of you, if you buy a home and sell a home, or sell a home and buy a home within a 1-year period, you will not get that fee. That's not the intention. The intention is to get the new people coming in to pay that fee as a recognition of the fact they need to make an investment in this community going forward.
Okay, thank you for that. And one last question. Would you be willing to share the thinking, the rationale behind, or and maybe I don't fully understand it, were the people who work here part-time, who work for minimum wage, they got tennis or golf, was that taken away, and to what extent was that so, and the rationale why that was done?
Well, and that's a changing item, to be honest with you. And again, I'll point to Jeff because he lives this every day, is we have an issue with trying to get more and more what we call seasonal employees on board, because more and more people coming into Fairfield Glade are of the opinion, I came here to retire, I want to play golf, I want to play pickleball, I want to hike the trails, I want to do pontoon boats, I want to do those things, I don't want to work. And it used to be more that we could get a lot of individuals come in as seasonal employment for low dollars because we give them amenities like free golf and that type of thing. That's changing. And we're going to have to look at that very seriously at what that means. And you'll see when we talk about the budget, we're putting more full-time people in like golf maintenance because we can't find the seasonal employees to do that anymore. So there's a number of changes, not just because we want to make them, but because our population is changing.
I'm not sure if I'm following you. Are you saying that you took away that additional benefit because it's more difficult to find people?
Oh, are you talking about the racket center change?
I'm talking about for people who work here, who are working for minimum wage, part or full-time.
Well, let's be clear. We have tried to raise those rates every year. Now, we're not what I would call, depending on what side of the fence you're on, about what that minimum wage looks like. But we're roughly, I saw this number yesterday, roughly if you take a look at our seasonal employees, which is mainly where a lot of this comes from, the average rate, the average pay rate is about $9, okay? So we've raised it some over the last couple of years. We're going to have to take a look at that and see what that means in terms of where we should be and whether or not we need to be looking at more full-time employees or seasonal ones.
So in terms of my question, though, so are you saying the rationale was we're going to give them a couple of dollars more and take away the tennis and golf because that's going to attract more people than
No. Right.
Yeah, it hasn't. Okay, well, that was part of my question. I didn't know if I understood it or not. So the communication on that, at least I have not been clear on that. So that's why I wanted clarification.
Let's be clear. The Tennessee regulation in terms of minimum wage has not changed, okay? But what's changing is the makeup of our workforce and what we can get and what people are wanting to do. That's what's changing. Because it used to be, Jeff, you probably know this better than most, it used to have a waiting list of people that would do that. Yeah, come on.
The seasonal pay for seasonal employees at Fairfield Glade averages $9 an hour. The employee benefit package, amenity package, has not changed. The only thing that changed recently that I can think of, I'm not sure if this is what you're referencing, but the hours of access by employees to certain amenities, such as the pickleball courts, did change in preference to members and residents that are full members. So, not that they're not full members, but when you choose to work, that is part, you can't use your amenity-free play during certain times. So that's very comparable to how the golf courses are managed as well. So there's consistency there. That was the only thing that has changed in recent months. Okay?
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? If not, hurry up. That's all right. Yep.
It's off. Hello?
Got it?
All right, now it is.
There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry. Quickly, my question about this 17 or 10 for the clubhouse. Has that figure, is it solid now or is it not? Because his concern, it is with everybody else, is everything goes up. So this 17 may end up going up to 18 by the time they get a solid quote, correct?
Well,
it could.
Here's where we are. We've gotten estimates from people that are knowledgeable about what we're trying to do and how it looks right now. Can it change? Yeah. Until we have contracts signed, it can change. But my promise to you is that whatever the numbers look like, we will take that to the community so you know. We'll do it through board meetings, we'll do it through town halls, we'll do it through those kind of mechanisms. But at this point, that's the best estimate that we've gotten from people that work in this area every day.
Okay, and one last, how are you going to handle the payment for the loans with the people? Is it going to be an increase in homeowners or a special assessment?
No, there's no special assessment. If you went to the July and even the May committee, town hall, there is no special assessment in our plan, okay? We feel that by raising the amenity fee, by doing what we're doing in terms of monthly assessments, and by using the reserves that we have, we can cover that $70.5 million cost. Now, the other thing about that is, and Bruce pointed this out in his presentation, everyone gets concerned about $70.5 million, that's a lot of money. Yeah, it is. But we've been spending doggone near close to that over a 10-year period, just what we've done every year. We just haven't planned for it. So, yes, it's an increase, but it's not an obscene increase, okay? And the other thing is that we didn't put this into our factor. Matter of fact, if you take a look at the presentation that was done July 25th that Bruce did on the 10-year capital plan, what you'll see is we took the lowest home sales that we had over a 10-year period and used that as the piece that would show our funding on the amenity reserve fee. So we were very conservative in terms of what we thought we would do. We're actually performing better, and again, it's not a trend, it's 1 month. We're actually performing better in that 1 month than we even anticipated.
What time is your meeting on the 14th of November? What time is it?
It'll be on the calendar. We'll get that out. I don't know what time. We typically do it in the afternoon.
Please make it at 5.
I know. No, I get that a lot because, quite frankly, we're getting more and more people that are working here, and they can't be here from 9 to 5. So we'll take that into account. Okay? Anything else? No. No, can't do that yet. We got one last thing to do. I want Mary Kay and Monica to stand up so that you know who our 2 new board members are. And we want to recognize them. And I also want to thank all the other members that ran for this position. I mean, this was a good election in that we had choices, and that's a good thing. And I encourage all of you that are sitting here and listening at home, get involved. You know, I agree with whoever made the statement that the 28% is a bad number. We want a lot more people to vote. And, you know, people talk a lot about the declarant and the Wyndham and the influence they have. When I first got on the board, Wyndham had 1,600 votes. They're now down to 1,295. They're getting out of that business. The declarant only has 13 votes. And that's a shock to some people. Yes, Tom owns a lot of land, but he doesn't pay assessments on them, and since he doesn't pay assessments on them, he doesn't get to vote those lots. So when people talk about the declarant and Wyndham influence in elections, the declarant has almost no influence whatsoever. We've got other people that have more than 13 lots that they vote. But Wyndham, the way you address that is by getting more and more votes of the community out. So.
May I ask one more? Since you just
No.
brought that up, could you weight the votes of the members' votes higher than the Wyndham?
No, no. By our covenants and restrictions, it's 1 vote per property. Okay? All right. Now. Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nobody better say nays. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much for coming.